Hello everyone! Today we're going to be jumping back into Historic Brawl with Paws, Emperor's Voice. Now Paws is a 2-mana 2/2, and whenever an aura enters the battlefield under our control, if we cast it, we can search our library for a different aura with mana value that is less than or equal to that aura we cast. That aura is also going to get attached to Paws, so as you can imagine, this is a great Voltron-styled commander as we're building up tons and tons of aura enchantments on Paws and then swinging out for an insane amount of damage. Now, taking a look at the deck, keeping in tune with that, we have a ton of different auras. Just to highlight a couple of the fun ones that we do have Spectral Steel. We can actually exile this from our graveyard to return a lost aura back to our hand. We also have some better finisher enchantments, things like All That Glitters for massive pump. We also have Ethereal Armor, doing the same thing in the 1 mana slot. And then we do have a lot of different ways to protect Paws as well. Things like God's Willing as a protection spell. We also have a Dauntless Bodyguard who we can sacrifice to give Indestructible to Paws, and a bunch of other creatures that'll do a similar thing. We also have Aura Disruption for our opponents. So things like Planar Disruption. When we cast this, we can actually search for and attach a 2 or less CMC aura to Paws, which is really great for us. And then we have Idyllic Tutor as well. Since we are running an enchantment-style deck, it is sometimes really good just to pick one of the auras that we get in the late game, whether we want that disruption for our opponent in our hand, or whether or not we want some extra auras to pump Paws. Taking a look at the mana base, it's fairly straightforward. We do have Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, since we're looking to build up a white pip heavy board with all of these auras, a bunch of planes, Plaza of Heroes to protect Paws, Iganjo, because there's no reason not to run one, and Cave of the Frost Dragon for some additional creature pressure. Now, if you guys have been enjoying my videos so far, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on my latest videos, and if you do enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button and let me know. Let's go ahead and see how this deck does. Alright, and here we are on the play into Vadric. This actually looks like a pretty good starting hand. We're going to go ahead and keep. We have early interaction with Swords to Plowshares. We also have the Core Spirit Dancer as a backup Voltron creature, which looks good. And we also have auras that we can cast. Now, right off the bat, we are going to start by playing out the Core Spirit Dancer. I would much rather our opponent remove this than the Paws. Then next turn, the plan is probably going to be to play out the Plaza of Heroes, then go for Paws and the Agates on the Core Spirit Dancer. Alright, well, let's start with Paws. Okay. Agates on Core Spirit Dancer. We will draw that card. Searching for Paws. Let's go ahead and go with Radiant Grace first. Swing out with the Spirit Dancer. Pass the turn. Now, the reason we went with Radiant Grace is because we're not holding up mana to protect Paws this turn. So if she dies, we wanted to pick our aura that would flip and enchant our opponent. Okay, looking good. Now, we can just Swords Vadric. Alternatively, we can use the Binding here. I do kind of like this. We'll draw a card off the Spirit Dancer. Search for Paws. Let's go ahead and we're gonna grab, where is it? Rune of Sustenance. Get some lifelinks, draw a card as well. Okay, move to combat. Swing out for 6 now. We do have Sheltering Light that we can hold up to give one of our creatures indestructible if necessary. And we have Swords to Plowshares as well. Looking good. Our opponent does have access to 5 mana now. That is a decent amount of mana. But we've got it! Alright! Alright, and here we are on the play, playing against some Knights. This is an alright starting hand, and we can keep it, so I think we will. Start by just playing a land. Gonna go ahead and pass the turn. We will have an interesting decision for next turn. I think we're just going to play out the Light Paws. Hope she stays on the battlefield here. After this, we've got a couple of follow-up plays for next turn. Ambitious Farmhand, alright. Now we can get through a decent chunk of damage on turn 3 here. Let's go ahead and start with Angelic Gift. This is going to give us flying so we can get over the Farmhand. We will take our action. I'm going to grab all that glitters. And we grab a Mind Stone. Now let's go Glaring Aegis. Yep. We're going to take that action. And I'm going to also grab Ethereal Armor. And we are going to swing out for 11. We've got our opponent down at 14. If our opponent cannot deal with Light Paws this turn, Michiko's Reign of Truth should be able to take care of it. Alright, yep. Looking good. Let's go ahead and play out the Reign of Truth. Light Paws has 18 damage, and we've got it. Alright, well, here we are on the play. I'm actually not going to keep this starting hand just because of the single land. Ideally, we do want to see more. This is going to be a little bit better for us, so we'll go ahead and keep. Now, we are playing into Emoti, so our opponent is going to be taking those early turns to focus on ramping their way up to getting their commander. In terms of our game plan, we're going to try and get SRAM out early, and then follow it up with Light Paws and Sentinel's Eyes to get that Light Paws trigger. Dub perhaps the next turn. But we'll see what we end up drawing as well. Alright. Start with the plains and pass the turn. Next turn we're going to be playing out Shram. Yep. Delighted Halfling, so there's a little bit of a ramp for our opponent. And here's Shram. Looking good so far for us. Okay. Yep, opponent casts Cultivate. It's a little bit more ramp. So we are going to be on the lookout for Emoti very soon. And we draw an Angelic Gift. Let's go ahead and start by playing out Light Paws. I'm going to put Vigilance on SRAM. We'll draw a card off that. Attach an aura to Light Paws. Let's see, what do I want to pick? I'm going to go ahead and just pick Ethereal Armor, so Light Paws has that already. We'll attack with SRAM for that 3 damage. And we are going to be in a very good spot next turn. Okay, opponent plays Emoti. Cascades into a Cold Steel Heart. So far, so good for us. Now, while we will have... Let's see. Ooh. See, we could stop our opponent from blocking, but I don't think our opponent's going to block anyway. I think we're going to go for Dub and hold up Boon of Safety to protect Light Paws. So let's go for Dub here. Yep, we'll take some action there, and let's grab the All That Glitters. Start threatening a lot of damage. Move to combat, and we've got it! Alright, and here we go into Corvold. This looks like a great starting hand. We're going to go ahead and keep this. We have some ramp in terms of our mana rocks. We also have Realmbreaker's Grasp, which we can use on the Corvold. Start with the plains and pass. We do have Swords to Plowshares now as well, which is going to give us even better interaction. Alright. Now we could try and force out the Light Paws early this turn, but I think instead we're going to go for the Cold Steel Heart. Play slow and steady, go for the ramp. If our opponent taps down the Paradise Druid, there is a chance that we can remove this with Swords to Plowshares. Alright, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, sure. And a Gilded Goose. Alright. Let's go ahead and play out our Light Paws here. And then I'm going to hold up Solid Footing here. Since this is a flash enchantment, we can use it to boost Light Paws' power in response to non-destroy based removal, so anything in red. If our opponent has a different spell in black, just some form of murder effect, then I think we're just going to lose Light Paws and have to recast it here. Alright, opponent discards Thrill and Veil of Summer. Only 3 cards left in hand. Yep. Blood Chief's Thirst will do it. Light Paws goes back in the command zone. That's okay for now, though. Okay, yep, that's an elf. Fine by me. Makes a food token, yep. Looks good, they'll make a treasure token as well. Alright, next choice. I think we just replay Light Paws here. Opponent with only 1 card in hand, I actually feel pretty good about keeping her alive this time. Now, Corvold notably does not have haste, meaning Realmbreaker's Grasp is going to be so powerful for us. Yep. Let's see what they sacrifice. One of their food tokens, sure. Is looking good to me so far. Yep. That's fine as well. I was just building a way to consistently get additional counters. No blocks here, because we want to keep Light Paws alive. Opponent can have their treasure token, that's fine by me. Now our opponent does have access to 2 mana, but they do not use it, which bodes fairly well for us. Right off the bat, let's go ahead. I think I'm going to play out the Arcane Signet first. Give us some access to additional mana, and then we'll go for Realmbreaker's Grasp. Put that on the Corvold. Yep. This should slow down our opponent a lot, since this is their main game plan. And of course, since this is an aura, as soon as that enters the battlefield, we're going to be able to search with Light Paws. Sure, yep, sacrifices for the counter. Yeah. They make the servo, that's fine. Yep. Sure, yep, another +1/+1 counter, they're going to make another servo. Interesting. Alright. Now we do have some choices for what we want to get here. Now all that glitters is probably going to be a very good choice for us, so I'll go ahead and grab that. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and use Solid Footing here as well. We're just going to stack some extra damage this turn with Light Paws. We'll go ahead and give Vigilance. Now we don't really have a way to protect Light Paws in our hand, so we are going on the full aggressive track. Opponent can chump with the servo tokens, and that is going to be the best choice for them. After casting either Face of Destiny or Conviction, we'll be able to give Light Paws Flying, and then they'll only be able to jump with the Gilded Goose. That could be very strong for us. But let's see, odds are they'll jump with the servo. Or they don't, they'll just take the damage, that's fine as well. Looking good. Now, Light Paws will notably assign combat damage equal to her toughness and not her power, which is why we lost out on 1 potential point of damage there with Solid Footing. That's going to get flopped around next turn once we go ahead and cast Conviction. Conviction is also pretty fun because we can pay 1 white mana to return it to our hand, meaning we'll get more enter the battlefield triggers with Light Paws. And I see no reason not to block here. Yep. Surprised our opponent didn't use the reflection. Maybe they misordered things? Because that is their real token. Yep. Treasure. For green. Sure. Looking good so far. Yep. Opponent does have access to 8 mana currently. So there are a lot of different options of what they can do. They have a very full hand as well. Now, if they did have a way to kill Light Paws, I would imagine they would have used it faster. Okay, yep. They can make another food token, sure. Yep, not an issue. Gonna gain some life. Yep. Looking good. Now, the big thing for us here is Gilded Goose is tapped currently. So with Gilded Goose tapped, that means our opponent has nothing that can block Light Paws as soon as we give her flying. And flying we will give her. Alright, Domery. Yep, that'll do it. Our opponent's going to be able to use the Corvold to fight Light Paws, throw her back into the command zone.
Finished here. There'll be nothing left but dust.
A little unfortunate for us. But Light Paws is just back in the command zone, and Radiant Grace is going to go ahead and attach itself as Radiant Restraints to our opponent. Halfling enters tapped. Alright, well, we're just going to go ahead and play out Light Paws. That'll be our turn. I'm not worried about the damage our opponent's presenting on the board currently. Yep.
Have at it, boys.
Our opponent will be able to fight again next turn. So we may want to hold up our Swords to Plowshares. That's definitely something to think about as we're playing out our auras next turn. Okay. We will be able to get lifelink with Face of Divinity. Conviction can also give us flying. And then we'll be able to pick another aura as well. I think we're in a pretty good spot. Yep. Looks good. Opponent's just doing some normal swinging. Alright, well, let's go ahead and start with Face of Divinity. Let's see, what do I want to grab? I think we're going to go with Light of Promise, since that's going to synergize well with the lifelink. Then we're going to go for Conviction. Now, we could give flying here, but I'm actually going to go for the Ethereal Armor instead, just for more damage. Move to combat. We're just going to swing right at our opponent for 10. Gonna gain 10 life, put 10 +1/+1 counters on Light Paws. She's now a 20/22. Okay, Lotus Cobra. Now, dealing with Light Paws is going to be very difficult here. We also do have Swords to Plowshares to take care of any creature that our opponent plays that we really don't want them to. Now, odds are our opponent is going to be keeping blockers back this turn. Best case scenario for us, they're going to tap down the Gilded Goose for another food token. Maybe start thinking about getting life gain. And that's going to let us swing in with flying next turn, using Sentinel's Mark as our aura to get that. But we'll see. Okay, yep. Clawfist, sure. Gonna go ahead and enter tap. Thank you, Radiant Restraints, doing your Doing your job for us. Yep. Our opponent may go and try and sacrifice a couple of other things to pump Corvold some more. Swing out for a bunch of damage. Okay, Crucius. Sure. Okay. Opponent has access to 2 more mana, potentially 3 with Domri. Okay. Opponent swings with Corvold. Now we're actually not going to kill the Corvold here. Yep. They do draw the card. Yep. Looks good. We'll take the 8 damage. Now you might ask why we choose to take this damage here. Well, Swords to Plowshares on the Gilded Goose is going to clear up the air for 1 final strike for us. I am just going to wait till the end of our opponent's turn, so we know what interaction they have before we make our decision with the swords. Yep. They're reading all the auras. They do have access to green, so there is a chance that they will be able to destroy one of these auras. Okay. Yep. Kinda adds a little bit of mana. Alright. Looking good. See what our opponent's gonna look for. Now there is a chance that they will find a removal spell here. Okay, before our turn, we're gonna kill the Gilded Goose. I know it does seem like an odd pick, but maybe our opponent is starting to understand our plan here. Okay, they tap down to make a food token. Nice. I think best draw for us this turn is going to be some form of protection spell. For Light Paws, if we could give Light Paws Indestructible or Hexproof. Or protection from any of our opponent's colors. That should be all we need to guarantee victory. As it stands, Sentinel's Mark and Flying is going to present lethal damage. Opponent only has access to 1 more mana. Okay, we do have Idyllic Tutor. But I actually don't think we need to even cast this. Let's go for the Sentinel's Mark. This is looking good. Yep. And we'll go ahead and take action here. Angelic Gift. This is going to give Flying. Draw a card. And we've got it! Alright! Alright, everybody, I hope you enjoyed. As we saw, Light Paws is a very powerful commander, and if you can keep her on the battlefield, she's going to very quickly find just the right auras to close out the game in little to no time at all. One of the biggest difficulties that we face with this deck is opponents that have a plethora of removal spells. If they can keep Light Paws in the command zone, we're never going to be able to get through that big burst of damage and close out the game. That being said, we can stall into the late game with early lifelink on Light Paws and large attack values. Even if our opponent has blockers, we're going to be standing a pretty good chance of being there for a while and forcing them to have to deal with the Light Paws. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, and if you have any ideas for another deck you'd like to see me play, why don't you go ahead and leave that as a comment down below. I'll see you all next time.